my whole shirt. Okay, my whole shirt says, all the cool kids are reading. Super cute. Got it on Amazon. I'll link it. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I want to talk about some bookish trends. Now, these are trends in the publishing world that I have noticed lately, and they've been catching my eye, and I find myself consistently thinking, oh, this is just like that. So this is, or this is like that, or hey, this is something I keep seeing popping up in books and publishing and all that stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit because there were quite a few that popped up at the top of my head when I was making notes for this video. So it was pretty easy to come up with some. And then I will have 3 examples for each one. Okay, the first one that I really noticed is the book titles. There have been quite a few books coming out that have song lyrics as their book titles. And the 3 that immediately popped into my head are Take Me Home Tonight by Morgan Matson, Where the Grass is Green and the Girls Are Pretty, and I have to always say, Won't You Please Take Me Home, by Lauren Weisberger, and Every Value Break, and that is by Peter Swanson. So it's just so interesting to me that these are all, 80s, 90s song lyrics, and they're book titles now. And every time I hear those song lyrics, every time I hear the titles, I start singing that song in my head. So I'm wondering if that's, intentional. I'm sure it is, but it was just kind of interesting. I was like, 3 newer releases that all have these types of titles in it, and they seemingly have nothing to do with each other. So that is interesting as well. It's not like this is a series of books that all have different song titles. They have nothing to do with each other at all. They just all have song lyrics as titles. Second trend, and this is something that has been happening over the past couple of years, I would say, not super recently, but there's podcast books. So books that have podcast elements in them. Definitely with the popularity of podcasts, they have been showing up in books. And it's been interesting because a lot of times it will be something where you're actually, if you're listening to the audiobook of these books, you're also feel like you're listening to a podcast because that element will be in there where you're hearing what sounds like an actual podcast. Now, I haven't read a book that has that in it that I have read physically with my eyes, so I can't really speak to how it translates if you're just reading it. I've always listened to them because I like feeling like I'm listening to a podcast as well. I think it keeps it interesting. They always do a really good job with it. Some of them even have music to it and everything, so it's pretty cool. But the first one that came to mind was Sadie. And this is by Courtney Summers. I really loved that book, and I love the podcast element of it as well. And then there's The Night's One by Megan Golden, which I recently read and really enjoyed. And then The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is by Holly Jackson. Now, I have not read this book, but I know that this one does have a podcast element to it as well. And a lot of times it's been, at least in the first 2 that I have read, it's been like a true crime podcast where they're actually speculating on a crime that happened or they're investigating a crime that happened. And I think that definitely plays on the popularity of true crime podcasts because it introduces new theories and really makes for good discussions to talk about, crimes that have happened or older crimes or currently, current crimes and stuff like that. So, but that's definitely a trend that I have seen happening in books. Okay, the next trend that I've noticed, and this is in cover designs, is that I have seen a lot of covers that have big color blocking on them, but it still makes a design in it. And usually I've seen a few that have been like faces almost. So it's a big color block, but then it makes a shape of like a character's face, or you can tell that it's a person on the cover as well inside these color blocks. So that's something that I've seen quite a few times. Biggest examples are The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett and Detransition Baby by Tori Peters, and then Love and Color by Baloo Babalola. I hope I said that right. But those 3 covers, when I see them, to me, they remind me of the other ones as well. And I'm like, oh, this cover kind of looks like this one and this looks like that. And so it's really interesting, but they're usually, big, bold colors, and just the color blocking is really cool. And I like how they, make a face like that. So it's cool. I like them. Okay, and the last trend that I've really noticed is, definitely drawn characters on the front, but they are taking up most of the cover. So whether it is, cut off from maybe the eyes down and then you see the rest of the character, or it's, not their full face, you can only see part of their face, but they're big and they're drawn and they're big and bold, and like that's obviously the main focus. The characters are really big and bold and prominent on the book covers, and I've noticed this in a couple of books here. So the first one is Arsenic and Adobo. This is by Mia Manasala. And, that one has her and she's cut off, from like the eyes down, but she's very prominent on there. And then Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Casamano is also, she's big and prominent. She's not cut off on the top at all, but, she has her turtleneck up, and I love that cover. It's such a great one. But she is big and bold on there. And then I'm going to try to say this. I don't know how to pronounce this character's name. Ariadne, and this is by Jennifer Saint, and this one is a Greek god character, and she's drawn and big, and you can see all her head and everything, but she's big and she's drawn and she's prominent. So those are definitely interesting, and I like the illustrated covers. I really do, versus an actual person on the cover. I think I prefer a drawing of it. I think it makes it more interesting and unique art styles. And I don't know, I'm really, really just kind of pulled towards them. Okay, guys, that is it. Those are some trends that I have seen in the publishing world. And I think they're very interesting, and they're definitely, I can notice something and then I start seeing it everywhere. So I think it's pretty cool. Let me know if you have noticed these trends as well. Let me know if there's any that you've noticed that I didn't mention here. I would love to know that as well. I think it's kind of fun to pick out what's kind of popular and what publishers are doing and what's working and what they start building off of. I think it's really interesting to watch all that unfold. So let me know what you've noticed down below, and I will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a good day. Bye.